Welcome, everybody, and thanks for taking some time out of your busy day to join us to discuss the art of the turnover, quick fixes for rapid rental readiness. As Robin already explained, we do have Duncan and Beth with us here today. They are with Your Key Management, and I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves in just a moment. But first of all, why don't we quickly just go over the agenda so you have a bit of an idea of what you're in store for today. So why are we here? Well, we're here to talk about the art of the turnover and dive into operations and share and talk about some different things that we can do to help our businesses and help get great turnovers. So in that, we're going to cover best practices for housekeeping. Then we're going to talk about best practices for maintenance. We don't want to forget about our owners, so we're going to share a few tips and tricks and ideas of how to improve your relationships with your owners. And then Beth's going to share some of her really great scheduling tips with us. And then at the end, we're also going to have some time for some Q&A. So please do add those questions into the Q&A as they come up. So Beth, Duncan, please tell us a little bit more about yourselves and about Your Key Rental Management.
All right, I can kick us off here. So Beth and I, we both co-founded Your Key in 2015. So about 9 years ago, we started renting out a spare bedroom in our condo, and it really just kind of grew organically from there into renting our entire condo. And then from there, we realized, hey, we're actually making some decent money. I think other people could benefit from this in our situation. And then that grew into being Calgary's #1 short-term rental management company. We're only focused on the Calgary market. So a lot of what we do, you'll see through this presentation, is tailored to that type of approach. So just keep that in mind. We opened Calgary's first and only short-term rental facility. So it is fairly competitive here. And we're looking at ways to how we differentiate and offer better services to our clients. We've taken a very employee-centric approach in that, meaning that our cleaners, well, I'll talk about that in a second. We call them guest readiness associates. They are our direct hired employees. So that's another differentiator for our company. And we manage based on a management fee. So again, this will help set the stage for folks if you're hearing some of what we're saying and it might not be as applicable to you. This is just how we've chosen to operate our business based on the market conditions here.
Awesome. And maybe you can kind of share with us Beth, what sort of area do you focus on? Duncan, what area do you focus on? Or do you kind of do a bit of everything?
Hi, I'm Beth, and so I oversee all of our day-to-day operations. So I've got a team of about 25 and growing, and that's my primary responsibility.
Yeah, so Beth oversees, we'll say day-to-day, and then I look at, we'll say new business and in the front end side of things, really getting it to the operations point where then it's handed over to Beth and really trying to evaluate other business opportunities. There are some interesting things happening here in Calgary. So really looking at where we can play in that space.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you to both of you for joining us and sharing all the things that you've learned over the last 9 years. Busy season for most of you is about to get started. I mean, Beth and Duncan, I'm sure you guys have already started the countdown to Stampede. So again, we really thank everybody for taking some time to join us. Today, let's take that big, deep breath because as you guys all know in operations, you're really going to need it. And let's dive in and talk about some of the ways that we can maybe help you have more opportunities to take those deep breaths. So we're going to get started with housekeeping. I mean, that is typically where the turnover starts, is that we need to get the housekeeping done. So let's dive into a poll to get started, just so we can kind of get a little bit of an idea of, what does your cleaning teams look like? Are you using 1099 contractors? So do you just have individual people that aren't employees that are doing your cleaning? Are you using third-party cleaning companies to do your cleaning? Do you have your own cleaning teams? So like Duncan and Beth, do you have in-house people that are actually employees? Or are you using a combination of all of the above? So we will take a look at this. So it looks like Third-party cleaning companies is definitely kind of the majority there, which is very interesting. So that's a great thing to know, but we do kind of have a little bit of a mix of other things in there as well. So thank you everybody for kind of giving us that that look into what it looks like, what the atmosphere of the people joining us looks like. All right, so let's jump into our topics about housekeeping. One of the things that we kind of want to talk about to start is, I mean, housekeeping, it needs to be done by people, and we need to have staff that are able to do it. So first topic we kind of want to talk about are sharing some ideas for how you can prioritize staff retention, and also tips and tricks of how you can quickly get those new hires up and running and in the homes cleaning, but cleaning up to your standards. Beth and Duncan, why don't you share a couple of the things that have really worked for you over the last 9 years?
Perfect. Yeah. So we, like a lot of people on this call, actually started with outsourcing of these roles. And we decided to make the move to bringing everyone in-house. So all of our support staff are employees. So Duncan mentioned our training, our office, the facility. So when you come into our office, you would see a showroom, a training room, like in the picture there, that's the training room. We have the laundry facility, shipping and receiving, and then garbage disposal. So basically everything you need to operate your business. And we did this because we wanted to have more control of the end product. We wanted to be able to share the same vision with the people that are carrying out the tasks as that we want them to share in the same vision. So that's why we made that decision. So when we bring in a new person who will be doing the cleaning, we call them guest readiness associates, but their first day, they're coming into our office, they're learning what our best practices are, getting to know our company, and they're actually being trained on site before they're ever stepping foot into our clients' homes.
I love that. Love that. And what, so one of the things, let's kind of jump a little bit and talk about that, about, how you guys gave your employees that title. And I know when I came to your open house last December, and when all of your staff were introducing themselves to me, I loved that they told me about their title. And why don't you tell us a little bit about this and kind of how you came about Guest Readiness Associates?
Yeah, and you can kind of see Beth and I, as soon as we say cleaner, it's almost like there's like a immediate stutter afterwards, because we really try to refrain from using that term within our company, because what we learned early on was that there is so much more that goes into that person's role that is on site. They are really the last line of defense typically before a guest arrives at the property, unless there's a check that happens after. So for us, we really designed a title that encompasses everything that they do. And we landed on Guest Readiness Associates. We feel that this more fully encompasses what we expect from them, not necessarily, well, their tasks, yes, largely cleaning, but there are a lot of other tasks that they do that we want to make sure elevate the guest experience, checking the Wi-Fi, making sure the TV works, all the batteries work, the temperature, lighting, all of the things that a guest would then first experience. We want to make sure that that is included into their job expectations as well. And by doing that, it elevates the expectation that we hold for them from a day-to-day basis. But also, when we look at our company structure as well, it has allowed us to create somewhat of more of a pathway for individuals. So you might start as a guest readiness trainee, and then move into a guest readiness associate, and then a lead of a shift. And you can kind of see how you can keep on adding ladder rungs to this. And that allows you to remain a little bit more motivated to this, rather than just focusing on ratcheting down cost and time and speed, and all these things are really wholly encompassed in a guest readiness associate.
I love that. I think that's really genius. And I mean, part of that, something, as what are they called, or what do they call themselves, really kind of speaks to, both of these items that we have here, staff retention as well as that compensation. So I really love those ideas. And again, that's a good reminder of that, recognizing people doesn't always have to be about money, which I really think is a great idea. Any other tips or tricks kind of in compensation or retention that you want to share with us?
Yeah, and we've kind of try to weave it all together. But for compensation, if we look at, and maybe we'll use the Calgary Stampede, it was already kind of referenced once already. But if we look at the Calgary Stampede or any say major event in a community, it's for us it's 10 days, and you make probably 3 to 4 months in terms of revenue in those 10 days because it's that popular. So for us, it's all hands on deck. But as a business owner, all hands on deck looks a little bit different than if you're a guest readiness associate. So how do we keep them motivated to come to work? And essentially, we just need them to do their job and do it fairly well. So we've come out with an incentive program for those 10 days where we don't say how much it is, but we do incentivize people by saying it is based on your performance, it's based on reliability, it's based on efficiency. So being able to complete your schedule and of course, behaviors. And then we reward that I would say 2 to 3 weeks after Stampede ends on the next pay period. So what we do is we have a chance to calibrate, but we also say, hey, everything that you do in this month really is going to be considered into that payment. We own the ability to allocate that based on the individual. And what we have found last year was the first year trying it out. And we had amazing attendance. We had amazing performance. And I called it, I feel like I'm just paying someone to do their job. I'm paying them extra to do their job, but it is that important of a time of year that you have to do that. It doesn't necessarily feel right. However, it is very important, and a drop ball on a $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 reservation can be quite costly.
Absolutely. And I love that sometimes you just really have to focus on those key times and give them a little extra motivation to be like, I know you could just call in sick today, but the team really needs you. So it kind of helps them pull together. So love that. Really, really great ideas. So, I mean, that's talking about retention and, how we can also help keep the staff or get staff or recruit staff. Let's kind of transition a little bit more about, day to day. So when your guest readiness associates are at work, what other things can we try and do, to make their day-to-day jobs easier or more enjoyable or more successful? Can you share with us some of the tips of what you guys do there?
Yeah, I can maybe share some, and then I'll hand over to Beth to share some others. I think that we have used Operto Teams for many years now, and we've really grown into it. I feel like there's so many features with it that we don't use all of them. Of course, I think that would be for us. It's not required. However, in our checklist that we do use, we focus on tasks that again, it's not mop floor, wipe table, vacuum. To us, that is baseline expectation before you even enter the field. We need to focus on the next level, and that is really the guest experience. So for us, we're putting those types of items in the checklist just to make sure people are reminded that they need to do these things so that we know, hey, this checklist is done, that guest experience is going to meet our standard. And if there's things that aren't done, then obviously there's different conversations that we have in there. But for us, the checklist is really not the rudimentary task. For us, it is those things that are going to help ensure a more positive guest experience.
Love it. Great tips.
Yeah. And so obviously Duncan has touched on the responsibilities of a guest readiness associate, and it's quite large. So they have like one of the biggest impacts on the guest experience. And a lot of the time they're the only one that's going to have eyes and ears on a property between reservations. So what do we do on the other end to make sure that they're having a more successful experience? For a guest readiness associate, the night before they show up, they're getting their entire schedule sent to them, and it's put it from the quadrant of the city to the route being planned. It lets them know how big the jobs are. There's videos, pictures, their checklist. When they show up at work, they already know their team is here. We've used the linen counts on the Teams function so that all of their linens are packed. So if they've got 5 king beds in that property, it's all packed and ready for them. They pick up their keys and they just really get to focus on their job, and we take care of the rest so that they can do what they do best.
Yeah, and we don't do laundry on site, so I think that's what Beth was touching on, the preparation of the linens. All of that is brought back to our office, and we have a laundromat. Basically, we built it for our own business operation, so it's able to add a little bit more value to our owners when you're pitching them in terms of, we don't use your utilities, we don't use your machines for a significant amount of this, and that adds some good relationship capital for sure.
Fantastic. And I know when I came to visit your facility in December, I was getting goosebumps walking through your linen area. Everyone was kind of laughing at how excited I got, but it increases the time, right? I mean, doing a load of laundry takes a lot of time. And so you're saving them the time, and love the idea of packing it. I mean, again, housekeeping is that very physical job. So anything that you can kind of leave their energy for cleaning, not for necessarily packing up all of their stuff. So some really, really great tips in there. Love that. Also, just a reminder to everybody, we do have some example checklists and some items in the resources. So make sure you click in there if you want to kind of get some ideas to get the juices flowing. If you're looking at creating or upgrading your checklist, check into the resources. Okay, let's transition a little bit to maintenance, because as we all know, guests coming and going, maintenance comes up. And so let's talk a little bit about best practices for staying on top of maintenance. But let's take a quick poll here and do a quick pause and do another poll. So what are your biggest maintenance challenges in your day-to-day business? Is it accounting for non-billed work, so things are slipping between the cracks and you're paying to do the maintenance for your owners? Is it keeping track of reported issues and making sure that you're actually getting them fixed before the next guest comes, or even just being aware of it being reported? Handling and scheduling preventative maintenance, all of the above, or if you've got other things that are popping up there, what are your other main things that are coming up? I'm interested to see where this one kind of comes out. So looks like, we have a fairly even split here. So definitely accounting for non-billed work, handling preventative maintenance. That's always a tricky one, of that juggling of trying to figure out where to fit it in. And then for quite a few people in there as well, all of the above. Beth and Duncan, does that kind of resonate with you guys of what you'd be looking at? What are your areas?
I'd say we're pretty great, but
yeah, no, I think for us, there's always things that come up, right? You can have the best laid plan, but there's always things that come up. So I think it's now for us figuring out, how do you handle those most effectively and cost effectively, because things always go wrong. And it's about, how do you, have a plan for that.
Excellent. And so, let's start at the beginning of it. So one of the things that we often hear from quite a few of our customers is, let's make sure that it gets reported. So empowering your guests to report it when things are going wrong, so you can fix it during the stay before they have that chance to give you a bad review. And how do you make it easy for your staff to report things so that the person who can actually fix it can get it? So can you guys share a little bit with us about what does that workflow look like, or what do you do to help your guest readiness associates tackle maintenance or reporting?
Yeah. So I think, you want to go ahead, B?
Yeah, maybe I'll go first. So the guest readiness associates, they play a big part in the maintenance. So when they're on the job, they do have the tools for anything that's small that comes up. So they've got their screwdrivers and other small things, so that if it's something that can be handled relatively easy, they take care of it there and then. Anything else, they do report right away. If it's going to impact the stay, they do give us a phone call and videos and pictures, and then we decide the next course of action. Sometimes it's getting a professional out there, or other things we can just plan and have it ready for the next job. For example, like if we need a furnace filter to go out, it's already ready for the guest readiness associates when they come in the morning, and it's already on their schedule to change that out. On the flip side, the preventative things, we also utilize the scheduling of those things at a regular cadence, so that they're not being flagged as guest issues. For example, knowing that you need to add salt to your water softener on a regular basis, and all of those small things, just taking the thought out of it so that you're not worried about it, or having to handle it during a stay, or having to manually put in like a calendar reminder. So that's sort of the way that we handle most of those. And we also, using QuickBooks, we are able to bill out things that are actually maintenance related. So we'll have an idea whether we choose to bill an owner, but we'll just know what that task was and how much time was spent. Because if we're not billing it out, it's nice just to brag about it, because it does improve your relationship with your owners.
Yeah, so I think that's what Beth has mentioned. A couple key things in there is the training of your guest readiness associates. That's a benefit of having them as your own employees, because Subcontractors, honestly, they're going to ask for more money, and every little thing then becomes incrementally more expensive. Whereas now we have much more control over what we expect from our guest readiness associates. And say they weren't able to do something that we felt they could do, well, hey, we can come in and let's get some retraining, and make sure that they are at the level that we need them to be before they head out to the field again.
Love it. And I know when we've chatted in the past, you kind of have also said that that's kind of another way that you can give them that career path. So, you had mentioned you want them to be able to see that they can grow with the company. So hopefully you are retaining them. And this is another area, yeah, like if they get themselves to be like, wait, I can fix these other things you've mentioned to me. Oh, well, then they can kind of go to the next tier and become, a senior guest readiness associate. And so again, that's going to help back to that first point with that retention. So love that.
Yep.
Yeah. For us, we always anchor back to value. So if the employee is creating value for the company, then we can say, great, look at what you've done for us. We were able to, build this out or what have you. That is what we need as a small to medium sized business, and to ingrain those values into people so that they understand, okay, like I am part of the solution. I'm not just here getting my work done and going home. Yes, there's a lot of people that probably feel like that and act like that. However, we're trying to create a different culture within our company.
Love it. And so for any of you that have joined us today, if you are not already using Operto Teams, we do have some really great things in there, like preventative maintenance. You can use our on a schedule task rule and kind of set it and forget it. So you can say that, the salt in the water softener, this needs to happen every 4 months, and the system will automatically schedule it. So you're not having to go into another spreadsheet and kind of take a look at it. So yeah, these are really, really great ideas, and hopefully everyone on the call will kind of trigger a couple of things to be like, right, if I do that preventative maintenance, I'm not going to have that guest calling me or get that bad review. So love these ideas. This kind of transitions us a little bit. One of the big things that was up there was making sure that we're capturing all of those things that are billed. And Beth, I love that you said that even if we're not going to bill it, sometimes we just want to be able to show them, hey, like this is all the work that we're doing. We're not just doing the surface stuff. We're actually caring for your home. So let's go in and talk a little bit about, best practices for developing those owner relations. And I think the number one thing is that be transparent and upfront. Why don't you guys share with us a little bit about, what sort of things do you guys do with your owners to kind of be transparent and upfront about expectations?
Yeah. So for us, I always say it starts from the very first interaction with them. And for, again, looking back at our company and our experience, you want to make sure you build that trust. And I always think about it as you have a relationship bank account, and constantly it's being debited and credited, and you're always trying to make sure that bank account's growing. So, you don't get into overdraft. If you are an overdraft, that's going to be a problem for your relationship. So for us, we've chosen the management fee model. And why I bring this up is because I like to put people in the mindset and showcase how we've done this to get very crisp alignment in terms of our owners and ourselves and our guests. So we base our services on a management fee. Now that management fee has some inclusions. We have linen and towel replacements. If they're stained, stolen, ripped, whatever, it's included in our management fee. Guest consumable replenishment, similar concept. Guest consumes it, we replace it. Now, why that's important is because what we found early on when we did not have those included, every single time you send an invoice, this is where you start to get those questions. Why did I get this bed sheet? Why did I have to pay for this? Why I just replaced laundry softener 2 weeks ago, I should last longer. You take all of that away. That doesn't even happen anymore. They look at a very succinct bill. So you only have a few line items on there, very easy to understand, because the financial component often is the first one that's going to be the first domino that tips over many others. And once that happens, then it's very hard to come back from. So we've acknowledged that we're able to have more control and a better positive owner relationship whilst being able to manage the guest experience, where if a guest stains a towel, great, we don't charge them, but we want that 5-star review. Now that 5-star review translates into obviously the property performing better from a revenue perspective, but the owner not having to participate in that cost recovery. So now we're in essence, I look at it as a triangle where the owner and the guest, they're misaligned. That line does not connect, but you're in the middle connecting everything else together. So in our mind, it's being aware of how that's going to land on an owner, but also how do you bring that into your sphere of influence? And then how are you then able to create value from that. So it's a very complex problem. It is the decision that we've taken given our management fee structure, but it has allowed us to be quite successful and keep our owners quite satisfied. Corrine, I think you touched on it as well, is we obviously opened the first short-term rental facility here in Calgary. Now, what did we do? We just didn't open it and, go silently and very humbly, which I think, that is our natural inclination. We use this as an opportunity to showcase, look how great it is, and showcase to everyone else in the market, look how great we are. Brand new machines, custom water. So it's like the Ferrari of setups. And I look at it, I'm like, wow, this is absolutely phenomenal, beautiful. I love going to the office and seeing everything that we created, but we showcases people like yourself, Corrine. You came in and were able to take a look at it firsthand, but all of our clients were invited to have free food, free drinks, walk around, ask questions, learn a little bit more about our operations, and appreciate a lot more about what actually goes into the successful day-to-day. It's not just hey, they come in and clean the property and they leave and they send the guests a couple messages and they make, a good chunk of money. No, there's a lot more that does go into it. So we're able to then showcase that to them. But then we brought in other stakeholders, realtors, other potential clients. We want to open the door again, showcasing to them, because if they trust you, they're going to invite you in, which then obviously translates to potentially other leads and in growing your business that way.
Love it. Beth, anything to add?
Yeah, just along the line of going back and forth with clients about small things like buying laundry detergent, for example. The more you can minimize those conversations, the more time you're freeing up for bigger things, and then those conversations you do have with them are more beneficial. So there's more like cost savings and relationship savings with going that route as well.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I used to quite often use that term of saying, like, my goal is to not nickel and dime you. So I don't want to plug away at all those little things. Let's look at the bigger picture of focusing on the things that are going to make the guest have a better stay. And to Duncan's point, that's going to give you more money. That's going to fill that bank account up for you. So love that. Some really, really great tips in there. So another one that a lot of people have also, first of all, I love that, could you be more transparent than opening your doors like you did, Duncan and Beth, to your owners, of saying, come on into the business and actually see what it's all about. But another one that we do also get is, not to just do those big events, but also make sure that you're notifying them immediately of anything that does happen. So keep them up to date of that, hey, we are doing our job. Not necessarily that they have to go do it, but we're aware of what's going on and we know what's happening. So maybe we can kind of transition a little bit and talk about some of the other tools and things that can be used to give owners, peace of mind. So it's not just about necessarily damages and that sort of things. There's other things that you can do, pre-booking or after booking, and, different steps you can do to get better reviews. Can you guys maybe share a couple of areas of tools or tricks that you use in those areas?
For sure. I think for us, I learned very early on that although we are, say, managing a property or a guest experience, you're mitigating risk every second of every day. It feels like there's everything that happens, there's a risk associated to that, because short-term rentals have been used for purposes that are illicit, and they still are continued to do so, parties and such. For us, we tried to mitigate the highest risk reservations. So those are the shorter reservations booked closer to the actual date of arrival. So our minimum length of stay is 3 days. Right there, before a guest even sends a message, we know we've mitigated the 1 and 2 night stays, which are significantly more risky and definitely in most cases, not worth it. Because you're going to have to pay more money in additional cleaning, et cetera, that you would make from that stay. So being able to see a very large volume of reservations, we know what to expect from a guest verification perspective. And now, of course, there's many other things that you can do, but from our perspective, minimum night stays is really one that helps that. But in addition to that, it's not just someone checks in and you kind of hope for the best and they check out. We use noise and motion sensors that allow us to get data in. When you have data, you can make a decision, a much better decision than your neighbor complaining to you, or someone else said, hey, there was a party there. Well, was there actually a party here? What was actually happening? We're able to then look at that information that comes in. And if a decibel level threshold is breached, Our team's notified. We're then able to make the necessary intervention. It isn't always, hey, you got to really be quiet. It's you can approach it from a very positive way as well. But there are instances where you do need to take a little bit more of a stern approach, because you're protecting, at the end of the day, everyone's protecting their license to operate. Whether you need a physical license to actually operate, your neighbors have an influence, your community has an influence, the city has, you're always protecting that at every reservation. So although there are people out there that are just saying, hey, I'm just operating my one unit, well, your one unit can give everyone else's unit a very bad reputation. So for us, it's something that we take very, very seriously, and then we take the necessary precautions and use the necessary technology to safeguard that.
Awesome. Beth, anything to add to that section?
No, I think Duncan covered it. I think it's nice. We, of course, follow all the regular regulations, and we do collect all of the information that we need from our guests before their stay. So I just think, yeah, risk management. So
awesome. And then, kind of circling back again to Duncan's analogy about that bank account, getting things like those, positive reviews, your guest readiness associates doing their job is going to give you those better reviews. It's going to make your owners happy, make them more money. So, definitely making sure that that whole thing of what we've gone through so far is what's going to kind of help with that area as well. And, revenue is going to make those owners happy. But taking care of their asset is also going to make those owners happy. So.
Exactly. And it's how you do that is the big nut to crack, right? I think you can do it, but in what we've established is we're trying to find a way to do it in the most positive way. It's nothing worse than starting up a unit and then having an owner get pretty upset, and then they want to end very quickly. So we've taken strategic approaches to help make sure that we can control revenue versus owners, because they don't necessarily have, again, they don't look at the whole picture. They only look at the very small piece of it.
Absolutely. Leave you to do your job, but prove that you can do the job. So love it. Really, really great tips in there. All right. So scheduling tips. I mean, anyone who has had to juggle the schedules know that you become like a Tetris master of trying to figure out, the most efficient ways to do it. Beth, I know that you have really gotten great at this. So please share some of your tips that you've learned over the last 9 years for scheduling tips.
Yeah, for sure. I do have to say I absolutely love Operto Teams for this, and we have looked at other applications, and Operto Teams is miles ahead. So even from the tiny little things like being able to map out your quadrants, it's not even as like broad as like northwest south. If you've got 40 cleans downtown, you want to know that it's like the west downtown, because you don't want people having to drive back and forth, and you want to mitigate any ineffective man hours, because that's saving you money. This is another way that you can also not only make people's day easier, and you can also be able to open up the opportunity for upsells. So if you've got a bunch of cleans in one place, you know which ones are going to be ready at what time. So you can then ask people if they'd like a late checkout, an early check-in, all of those little ways to increase profit for your owners. One of the things that as we were growing, we did use other cleaning companies, and the way that they would operate is they have many clients. So they want to know which ones of yours are same day, and those are the ones that get done. Everything else, they might even bump to the next day. And that to me leaves money on the table for my clients. So my goal is every single place that it has been vacated that day, it's cleaned by the end of the day. That way we can see if there's any issues. We have the ability to get someone new in there if we've got a request. And yeah, that's a very nice way to be able to upsell and get things done. But yeah, the quadrants and route planning that Operto Teams has is very helpful. And I look forward to the day when it's more automated, because it does take a pro to do it.
Yeah, you can see everything that Beth is talking about and then we have just under 100 properties here in Calgary. So it does become increasingly more complex with more crews, more people, differing schedules. There's so many different factors that go into this, but it's how do you make that as best as possible? I know Beth has mastered this, but then again, it's transferring that knowledge, training other people in the same thing. So there is a lot that goes into this. And I think that this is going to be a massive opportunity to unlock the potential for greater upsells in the future. So I do think that this is an opportunity space.
Yeah. And then to go even further to some of the other things that we use, it's not just having all the information about the property, the videos, the checklists, you can actually label them so that the team knows if it's going to be like we call them white glove cleans, where it's $5 million and up. We're sending a different team that has different experience. They show up to work a little bit differently. So we know that ahead of time that we're planning for those jobs. And similarly, if the job requires, for example, 4 people to get it done, it automatically tells you that you require 4 people. So by using all these tools, it does help so that when I am trying to knowledge transfer, someone who's taking on scheduling, they don't need to know what the area of the city is like. They can use the tools that we already build in when you're uploading a property to be able to make those decisions and schedule properly.
Yeah, like as we mentioned at the beginning, we want Beth and Duncan to be able to take a breath. We want everyone on the call today to actually be able to go on a vacation and transfer that knowledge over. So yeah, really important to have some tools there so that you're able to do that. Great. Thank you for that, Beth. Some really great tips in there, and love how even, you're talking about scheduling, but it relates to other things, something that sounds as simple as doing a schedule, but it's got some revenue in there, but it can also, if not done correctly, things might not get done on time or get missed. So really great tips in there. Love that. So now is my opportunity to take a little bit of time and plug what I specialize in, which is Operto Teams. So any of you on the call that if you're not already using Operto Teams, it is our operational scheduling platform. So we can help you with things like automating your schedules. As they were, Beth and Duncan were talking about those custom checklists. So not the checklists about doing the main things like vacuuming, sweeping, mopping. They know they need to do that. It's the things like make sure that the room is arranged this way. Make sure that there's enough plates and that they didn't get 4 plates broken last time and the next guest is going to be eating out of bowls instead of plates. So custom checklists, tracking the maintenance, making sure that those maintenance items don't fall between the cracks, and you start to have regular reviews showing up saying that, hey, the bathroom door handle is broken and it hasn't been fixed. We have a handy little staff app because, we need to make the tool really easy for the staff to be able to use it. So a couple real key features and things that Operto Teams can do for you. As it says there in pink, we want to help you break away from the manual things. If 4 people need to go, we want to just automatically make sure that 4 people. So anything that happens all the time, let's just make sure it automatically happens. A couple other key things that people have told us they love. We can give real-time notifications. So if a guest extends their stay and the cleaner was supposed to go, we can let that person know, hey, the guest has extended their stay and the clean has now been moved till tomorrow. Or if they've canceled, let them know they no longer have to go there so they're not driving all the way there to find out they don't need to be there. When we were talking about preventative maintenance, we've got some really great customized task rules so you can schedule those things like putting salt, the water softener salt in the water softener, changing furnace filters, all of those things that happen. We can create those task rules around your business and your unique things. What needs to happen in Florida is going to be very different than what needs to happen in Calgary. So you can use those different task rules to automate all of those different things. Beth touched on this a little bit, but we do have some laundry and linen packing forecasting reports that can really help you take hours and mistakes out of not taking the right things. Nothing worse than driving across town, getting there to do the clean and realizing you're short 1 king sheet and having to drive all the way back. So we have some really great tools that can help you with that. Maintenance, again, we can help put that on autopilot, preventative maintenance, automating those tasks. Let's get the preventative maintenance out of your Excel spreadsheets and get it automatically on your calendar so you know who needs to go where, or even when you need to schedule someone to go to those particular places. And homeowners. So, the last thing we talked about and something that's pretty important are those homeowners and developing those relationships. We've got some really great features in Operto Teams. We can notify owners, easily make it easy to notify owners when things happen, if there is damages, and let them know you're aware of it and you're going to take care of it. Giving that transparency of being able to run reports and actually show how long it took to fix something or how many times you went and fixed something. So some really great features in there for our homeowners. So even if you are a Teams customer, and if any of this is kind of news to you, use that little help section or reach out to us, because we're happy to help you find out about these features. Or if you're not using Teams and we've piqued your interest, reach out to us and we'd love to talk to you about how to get started using Operto Teams. But of course, Operto is more than just Teams, even though that's my favorite product. We really want to talk about and help you find solutions for everything that's going to make a guest stay great. So we really want to talk about things that happen right from, the pre-arrival, right after they've booked, sending out, information about their house, and maybe even things that are in the area. Here's some great restaurants that are close to you, or here's a spa you might want to make a reservation. So we really have tools that can help you with everything from the pre-arrival right through to check-in. So giving them their codes so that they're not having to wait for someone to check them in, making sure it's a unique, secure code just for the length of their stay. In stay, again, our guest apps can help them with trying to figure out, how do I turn on the dishwasher? You can have a little video right there. So yeah, Operto is all about everything that's going on, all the tools that are going to cover pre-arrival, check-in, in-stay, check-out, and even offering, doing those services after and sending those guest readiness associates. Hopefully we've started a new trend and we're going to have a new title out there that people will start using. So that's my little plug about Operto. If any of that piques your interest, again, please reach out to us. Happy to talk more in depth about any of our tools that we have available. And now let's open things up. We got a few more minutes left for some Q&A. I see that there have been some Q&A flying in.
Yes. Wow. Thank you all so much for that incredible presentation. You covered a lot of ground in 45 minutes. That was amazing. We do have a couple of questions in the chat here. If you have any burning questions and haven't had a chance to enter them in the Q&A, I would say go ahead now. The first question we have is maintenance tracking for Operto Teams templated? Is it difficult for me to tailor the resource to my current schedule for maintenance?
Beth, I'm going to let you answer this one.
Yeah, there is so much flexibility in the things, the checklists and the tasks that you can create. You can have them completely customized. So you can make individual ones for specific properties, like properties that have a boiler. You can upload so many things to them. You can assign like if you have a person that you usually use, like a service provider, like a certain plumber or something, they can actually get access to those reports and that information as well. But you can have videos, you can have it scheduled like on a cadence where it's like, it needs to be done within this 2-week period, but it will actually know when you've got bookings. So it can happen between those bookings. So you're not having to reschedule it. So it's very customizable and super easy to use. And then I actually, I forgot to say one of the other benefits too with the scheduling and everything is that the Operto Teams actually feeds into Slack. And I know that a lot of other operators use Slack for almost everything else that they do and other service providers. So it's another thing where you can actually track that with your conversations with your team and put it into the relevant client folders very easily, which is nice as well.
Perfect. Thanks for that, Beth.
Yeah. Another one for you, Beth and Duncan. Do you have a formula for deciding how many employees to hire based on the number of rental units?
I wouldn't say that there's a set number per se. I think for us, we've tried to create as much flexibility in this as we can. So hiring someone full-time restricts your flexibility. Hiring someone for certain hours of the day restricts your flexibility. So my advice is that try to find that most flexible staffing method. So for us, we call our employees casual employees here in Canada. So we do not guarantee them a certain amount of hours. And that allows us to play our best players. I always say I have a team and there's only so many people that I can play on that team per day. Now, if you have more units, there's more people that I can play, but the best performing people will get the most hours. So it seems kind of backwards that, hey, you're working me more because I'm doing a better job. Well, unfortunately, that's just the nature of of the business and the type of employment. So for us, we play our best players and we try to create as much flexibility as we can in that space.
And we do try to keep the same, like some very core people who have the most skills. So we try to make sure that we kind of evolve around them. So as we're getting more properties, we want to make sure we have enough of those core people, and then we can easily add on people that are a bit more flexible. They might not be the lead, but they can come on even if it's seasonal and learn a lot. And a lot of them return for the next season as well. So it's, and we also, another thing that makes it a benefit for our team, which is not compensation related, is just the flexibility. Like, you want to be available on a flexible schedule for me, which benefits my business. I also will do the same for you. If you want to be gone for 6 months, that's perfect. So just another way that it can work for certain people that care more about flexibility than necessarily continuing to climb in compensation.
Great, thank you for that.
Yeah. Well, if there are any additional questions, you are, as the audience is in luck, because we do have a panel discussion starting right now that we're fortunate to have Beth and Duncan also joining, facilitated by World Slickers. So maybe time to move over there. Thank you again, all three of you, for a fantastic presentation, and thank you for everyone who attended.